Panera Bread made a big deal about their commitment to clean ingredients and animal welfare. So why did they start backtracking? In 2015, Panera started making a big push to clean up its menu, ultimately changing 122 of its 450 ingredients. The revisions left the chain with a no-no list of artificial ingredients it vowed not to use.
What we're attempting to do for consumers here is give them a comprehensive, transparent list that gives them clarity.
But in 2024, some of those ingredients disappeared from the list, including maltodextrin, phosphates, and sorbic acid. Plus, there are plenty of people who are skeptical about just how clean Panera's menu items are anyway. The no-no list defines clean foods as having no artificial preservatives, sweeteners, flavors, and colors. But a lawsuit against the company in 2020 alleged that it was misrepresenting itself by still using multiple artificial ingredients. Some of the offending ingredients the lawsuit listed included the preservatives tocopherol and ascorbic acid, which it alleged were artificial, though you may know them better as vitamin C and vitamin E. Ultimately, the case was dismissed since it was filed in the wrong court system. More concerningly, when GMO-free USA tested 44 chain restaurant foods for glyphosate in 2019, Panera had the highest quantity. Glyphosate is an herbicide farmers use on their crops to kill weeds, so it mainly affects plant-based menu items. While the FDA regulates its usage and researchers don't agree whether it causes cancer, the amount found in the food at Panera was at levels some think could potentially lead to health problems. Knowing that Panera prides itself on using clean ingredients can easily fool you into thinking everything on the menu is healthy, but clean doesn't necessarily mean healthy. Panera's mac and cheese bread bowl may be clean, but it has 1,150 calories and a massive 164 grams of carbs, plus 64 grams of fat and 35 grams of saturated fat. When it comes to sodium, the chicken cordon bleu melt on a baguette is the chain's worst offender, clocking in at 3,510 milligrams of sodium, far more than the daily sodium recommendation of 2,300 milligrams. And interestingly, the pastries aren't as sugary as the drinks, with a 30-ounce tropical punch coming in at 112 grams of sugar. You also might think twice before adding a sourdough bread bowl to soup or mac and cheese. Adding a bread bowl increases the calorie count by 670, adds 40 grams of fat, 4.5 grams of saturated fat, 1,160 milligrams of sodium, 130 grams of carbs, and 2 grams of sugar. Another reason to skip the mac and cheese is that Panera's macaroni isn't made on site. Instead, it arrives frozen and is just heated up by workers. A Panera employee released a revealing video on TikTok in 2019, showing themselves dropping a single-serve frozen packet of pre-made macaroni into hot water for at least 20 minutes to thaw it. After thawing, the employee cut open the vacuum-sealed plastic packet with scissors, emptied the macaroni into a bowl, and served it to the customer. Then, of course, they got fired. There are several reasons Panera makes its macaroni off-site. Not only can it keep its proprietary recipe a secret, but it can control the quality so that all restaurants are serving macaroni that tastes the same. Also, being frozen allows the chain to make it without preservatives and keep it clean. There aren't any chefs in the kitchen making Panera soups from scratch for the same reason the mac and cheese comes pre-made. As also revealed on TikTok, prepackaged soups all arrive at the restaurant frozen in giant bricks. Then an employee thaws and heats them in a hot water bath and a thermalizer before pouring them into serving pans. An anonymous Redditor explaining the process said, "Sometimes we didn't get to fully thaw out the soup in time and put some cold ones out there. In general, Panera doesn't do much actual cooking on site." A fridge tech who spends a lot of time doing repair work in Panera's kitchen said on Reddit, "It is the only restaurant I know of where so little cooking goes on that they don't need a vent hood." Still, in some ways, it's not a surprise. One Redditor pointed out that frozen food is the standard for fast food joints. You just need to set your expectations. This is pretty much the same at any quick serve or fast casual restaurant, any brand, any state. I don't think a bunch of high schoolers are whipping up made from scratch food every day for $4 an entree. To add to your soup disappointment, the soup you're eating may not even be today's soup. While Panera donates its old baked goods to charities, it tends to hold on to its leftover soup. A former Panera employee who worked there from 2017 to 2018 said on Reddit, "We would tie off the leftover soup at close and put the bags in a sink full of ice and use the soup the next day. If you're among the first people ordering soup on any given day, there's a chance you could be eating yesterday's sink-cooled soup. So if fresh soup matters to you, you may want to eat elsewhere. Just make sure you find the right place."
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3! What? No soup for you!
One thing that can get overlooked in any restaurant is cleaning drink dispensers, and Panera is no exception. Even with a strict cleaning policy, some drink dispensers are more likely to get overlooked than others. Panera's cleaning routine involves cleaning the soda fountains daily and the tea dispensers and bubblers at least every other day. However, it's the lemonade and tea dispensers behind the counter that some employees say get overlooked, and mold sometimes builds up. Yuck. If you've been harboring illusions that Panera bakers make bread from scratch, you have the wrong image of what's happening in Panera's kitchen. A third party makes the dough and ships it to the restaurant frozen. However, it's still baked fresh on site every day. Panera isn't the only chain restaurant famous for bread that arrives as frozen dough. For example, Subway bread dough also arrives frozen. So a chain restaurant making fresh bread from frozen dough is not as uncommon as you might think. Currently, Panera bakers proof and bake the dough at night or the day before to have it ready for customers for the next day. However, as a part of a new initiative, employees say there are rumblings from general managers that the bread may one day arrive at the store partially baked. Hopefully that day won't come soon. Like the bread dough, the dough for all the pastries and baked goods comes pre-made. In the past, a few items required some assembly, but others arrived partially baked and just needed heating up to serve. However, in 2024, changes at Panera have led to bakers having even less to do. A Panera baker trainer told Nation's Restaurant News, "Our croissants, pecan braids, and cinnamon rolls are just a few items that have been completely redone to remove any prep before coming out of the oven, and minimal finishing after. The new changes condensed the baking hours down from 8 to 12 hours to only 2 to 4 hours. As you can imagine, bakers have been quitting in response to a new 16-hour work week. With these changes, it won't be long before the chain won't feel the need to hire anyone with baking experience to do its baking, since most skilled work is done off-site. If you're expecting to get baked goods that have only just been made hours before, Panera is likely to disappoint you. At Panera, arriving when the location opens at 6 a.m. doesn't mean you're getting baked goods that were removed from the oven just before you arrived. Instead, they're likely to be at least 10 hours old or older. As Panera has dumbed down the bakery process and shrunk the baker's working hours, it has also eliminated the overnight baking shift in some locations. Starting in 2022, the bakers who once worked overnight in some restaurants moved to the last shift before closing. So even if you're the first customer in the door in the morning in those locations, you're getting yesterday's baked goods. If you walk in the door just before closing and the bakers haven't replenished any inventory throughout the day, you could be getting an item that's a full day old.
That's your bread.
Some locations replenish stock with newly baked items throughout the day. However, others only restock at the beginning of the day. So even though the bread may not be fresh, it will still be fresher in the morning than later in the day. Far too many people have been shocked by the caffeine level of the charged lemonades at Panera. For some, the surprise has been deadly. A regular 20-ounce charged lemonade has 156 milligrams of caffeine, while a large 30-ounce one has 234 milligrams. A large charged lemonade is the equivalent of 2 1/3 cups of coffee, almost 7 cans of Coca-Cola, or nearly 4 shots of espresso. So you can see how someone could drink too much without realizing it. The drink hits hard for people who have medical reasons to avoid stimulants and caffeine. People who usually avoid energy drinks and highly caffeinated drinks often don't realize they're getting such high levels of caffeine in a lemonade. A Florida man died in 2023 2023 after drinking 3 charged lemonades. And a young college student with a medical condition that limited her caffeine intake also died in 2023 from the lemonade, as Panera advertised it as only having as much caffeine as a dark roast coffee, when in fact it also included a second stimulant to boot.
It didn't just have 390 milligrams of caffeine, which is a lot of caffeine.
Oh, yes.
It also had another stimulant. It's called guarana.
Ordering soup in a bread bowl is a little shady because of the sizing terminology at Panera. If you're ordering soup in a container rather than a bread bowl, it comes in 2 sizes, a cup or a bowl. The cup size contains 8 ounces of soup, and the bowl size contains 12 ounces of soup. However, if you order a bread bowl, you don't get a bowl serving of soup. Contrary to its name, a bread bowl comes with only a 1-cup serving of soup instead of a bowl serving of soup. So you're getting only a cup instead of 1.5 cups of soup inside a bread bowl, which seems quite counterintuitive. If you were hoping for a bowl-sized serving of soup with your bread bowl, you can always use the hack of ordering the bread bowl and soup separately, but you should expect to pay a little more. For example, if you order a broccoli cheddar soup bread bowl, it will cost around $9.19. However, if you order a bowl of soup at roughly $8.89 and a bread bowl separately at $2.79, you'll end up spending $11.78. But at least you'll get the amount of soup you want. Panera Bread has made a big deal about their commitment to animal welfare. In their statement of beliefs, it reads in part, "We have long believed in humane treatment of animals. That's why we transitioned to cage-free eggs and use chicken raised without antibiotics." However, actions speak louder than words, and in light of their supposed commitment to animal welfare, some of the recent policy changes at Panera are potentially driving people away. That's because it seems they have relaxed their policies on the down low. There used to be prominent signage and artwork relating to the healthy commitment to use vegetarian-fed, grass-fed, or pasture-raised animals. But since March 27, 2024, those signs have gone missing. Also gone are any mentions of animal welfare, as well as mention of some specific antibiotic-free or hormone-free animals. Its chickens are still antibiotic-free, but its pork and turkey products are not. And while its eggs still come from free-roaming chickens, its pork now comes from confined pigs. The reason for the change is simple and easy to guess: money. Some of the items on their menu are more expensive for the company when sourced ethically, and also sometimes harder to find. By switching to less ethical sources of meat, Panera stands to save roughly $29 million, at a cost that can't be measured in dollar signs.